Hello and welcome back to India on 99.94, your home of Indian cricket content. I'm Nikesh Sarah, your host, BBC and SEN commentator. Sarah Waris, my co-host alongside, as always, of Wisdom. And today we're going to be discussing India's T20i side. And it seems like we've been discussing it non-stop, Sarah, for months and months and months. The Asia Cup, the England tour, obviously, and then leading into the World Cup as well. And even off the back of it with the New Zealand series as well. What are they getting right in their selections? What are they getting wrong? Well, today, Sarah and I are going to give you our 11s of players that are currently available. And this is assuming that everyone is available to play T20 international cricket. So I know some players have been resting for the New Zealand series, but we're not going to bother about any of that. Going forward, as of now, and I know the World Cup is in 2024, so it's a long way away. Things can happen. People can get out of form. People can get injured. New players can come through. So we're not going to get the crystal ball out and look into the future. We're going to say, as of now, what we think should be India's T20 11. Sarah, do you want to kick off first?
So I had actually written an article on this a few days ago for Wisdom, and this is the team that I had picked, and I'll stick with the same team. So my openers, just in short, we'll discuss this later. So my openers, Prithvi Shaw, Rishabh Pant, don't have Kohli in there. Number 3 is Rahul Tripathi. Surya Kumar Yadav at 4, a lock. Hardik Pandya is my captain. There is Sanju Samson. Ravindra Jadeja, a lot has been spoken about his injury and all, but I still think that he will be fit enough at least for the next 2 years. Ravi Bishnoi is there. Umran Malik, Bumrah, and Arshdeep Singh as the last base option.
Okay, so I've gone a little bit different. And I've gone a bit rogue as well. So here's my 11. So Prithvi Shaw, opening with Virat Kohli. I think that's where you get the best of Kohli. Sky at number 3, because that's where he bats in the IPL. That's where he's had all his success. I know he's had success at 4 for India, but I'd put him at 3. I'd put Samson at 4. I'd put Hardik Pandya, captain, at number 5. Rahul Tewatia at number 6, finisher. Jadeja, 7. And then the bowlers, I don't quite know the batting order, but maybe Bumrah, Chahal, Umran Malik, and Arshdeep Singh as well. Let's discuss. What do you guys think as well? Let us know. Just comment on our post, whether you're listening on podcast, whether you're on YouTube. Let us know what you think of our picks, and we'll delve into it in more detail now. So let me just write yours down as well. So you've got Shaw, Pant. And then at number 3, Tripathi, was it?
Tripathi, yeah. Rahul Tripathi.
And then Sky at 4. Hardik at 5.
Hardik, yeah. Sanju
Samson.
Jadeja, Bishnoi, Umran Malik, Bumrah, Arshdeep.
Okay, right. So I'm just writing this down, by the way. If you're listening on podcast, we've not gone all silent. I'm not speechless at Sarah's side. So we've gone fairly similar with some of the picks. So let's discuss Prithvi Shaw, right? We've both got him in there. He's not been in the reckoning. It seems as though it's off-the-field stuff which is keeping him out of the India setup at the moment, although, as you mentioned in the previous podcast, was a standby in Test cricket a year ago, so who knows? Who knows what's going on? But new selectors apparently coming in at some point in the near future, so maybe they'll have a different take on it. Maybe new permanent captain in this format of the game as well will have a different take on it. So Prithvi Shaw, I don't think there's any argument really in terms of cricketing ability in this form of the game. There's no argument, right? He has to open.
He has to be there. That's what, the selectors, I just hope the new selectors who come in, they change their mindset, and the focus on average. Shaw doesn't have the best average in the format, but his strike rate, like I remember the time when he struck 6 fours in an over against Shivam Mavi last year. I think it was in the first over, and that was it. That was game over. He didn't go on to score a lot, but just that's his impact. And Again, I don't know why he's not picked, but Shaw has to be, like, he has to be. But I just have a feeling that 2024, before the World Cup, we are just going to be talking about why is Prithvi Shaw not in the team. I just have a feeling we are going to, do a standalone episode on that.
Well, if he keeps scoring runs, they can't ignore him. So that's all he needs to keep doing is scoring runs. And I suppose now is the time, with new selectors coming in, potentially a new captain in this format as well. We'll see how that goes. But you would think, I mean, even Hardik Pandya in interviews has been hinting at that, hasn't he? He hinted at that. There was a quote about leaving Samson out, and he gave a typical diplomatic answer about that, and sort of said, I know these players feel bad if they're not in the 11s, but he said we would have liked to have played him, but there wasn't an opportunity to, which I don't understand. Maybe he was given orders from up above that these are the players you're going to pick and you're just the temporary captain at the moment. But then he talked about being a captain, and if he was in a leadership role in this format, he would create an atmosphere where those players who are left out can come and talk to him and be open about it and talk about their feelings, and he'll create that togetherness within the camp. So he actually, I mean, he almost sort of, wrote himself an article in his CV to be captain of the T20i side, which I thought was telling. And I think whether or not anybody's spoken to him about that is besides the point. I like that. I like the confidence that he thinks and he feels probably that he should be the captain in this format. So I like that. And, that might create an atmosphere where players like Prithvi Shaw, who have been troubled in the past, can come and find their place in the side. He puts his arm around them and off they go scoring runs. So that's Prithvi Shaw. You've gone Rishabh Pant at the top of the order, which is still right-hand, left-hand. So it's not the Ishan Kishan and Rishabh Pant thing that we saw in the New Zealand series. You tell me why you've gone for Pant, and I'll tell you why Kohli, I think, is a better option.
Yeah. Pant, just because of the talent that he has, the skills that he has, he deserves to be backed. He deserves to be given a longer rope. I know he's played around more than 50 T20i, is not really cemented his place. His strike rate is an issue. But then you've been playing him at the wrong place, according to me. Like, he's not your number 5, number 6, which is where he has batted most parts of his career. He needs to open, like, you never know. Like, just have him open. And with Shaw, he is also the kind of player, who needs some time to get going. And with Shaw at the other end, it could just, solve the template, the batting approach issue. And he didn't really do much in the New Zealand series, had a terrible series. But then I would want him to be given a longer rope. I'm actually surprised that you have Kohli there 2 years later. Yeah, so your reasons for picking Kohli?
Look, I reckon Kohli will play till he's nearly 40. His fitness isn't an issue. Tendulkar did it. A lot of players are doing it now, aren't they? A lot of players across sports are doing it and just being fitter and being able to play at the top level longer. So I don't think 35, 36 is now necessarily the age for every cricketer to retire. Certainly if they've got the fitness of Kohli and the determination of Kohli, it's up to him whether he wants it.
Yeah.
And I think he'll carry on playing IPL. So as a result, he'll carry on being available for T20 internationals. And the form he's in at the moment, look, if Kohli just plays like we know he can from now on, he had a slump, so to speak, but, most average players or, average international players wouldn't have been too unhappy with the run that he had. He just wasn't scoring the centuries, was he? That was the main issue. He was still getting the 30s and, getting himself in and stuff. He just wasn't looking like the world beater that we know. So the form he's in at the moment, and the fact, look, you still need an experienced head in the side, but you need somebody who can also switch gears. And I believe having Kohli face as many deliveries as possible is the way to go. I mean, usually he comes in very early anyway, usually in the first couple of overs anyway, because India have usually lost an early wicket. So he might as well open. He's had success recently. He can play that anchor role. And the side that I've picked, there's not really many other anchors or any other options. And you don't really want Hardik to have to play anchor. He can if he needs to. And if Kohli goes early, then, Hardik could come in a bit earlier and be that anchor. You could mess around with the lineup in those situations. But you need somebody who can bat through the majority of the innings. And with both of us as well, we've picked sides with very long tails. Basically, the tail starts at 8. And that's just simply because the bowling, they're the best bowlers, right? And unfortunately, we don't have any world-class, fast bowlers that can also bat as well and bat properly. Bumrah's improving, of course, but, he's more a 9, 10 rather than an 8. So you'd need that bit of security, I think. And that's the reason I've gone for Kohli. You can't argue with the class. You can't argue with the stats. And yeah, I think having him in the side just lifts everybody, puts fear into the opposition as well, because he's still Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli in World Cups has, it's got a special aura about it, I think. So that's why I've gone Kohli. So have I won you around?
Fair point. Yeah. Fair point, yeah.
Fair point. It doesn't sound like you've been won around. You're sticking with Rishabh Pant, right?
I wouldn't mind Kohli. I am the biggest Kohli fan, so I wouldn't mind Kohli there just with all his workload management. You were right, that it's up to him really. He deserves a place there. I'm looking at it more, what might happen, like if Kohli doesn't play and you're looking at it that Kohli will play. So I wouldn't mind having Kohli there. So I'm a very big Kohli fan. So yeah.
So if we were to do a joint side, then we'd probably put Rishabh Pant / Virat Kohli, depending on availability in 2 years' time.
I'll have Kohli there.
Okay, all right. So I've won you round. That's good. Let's talk about the number 3s, and then we'll take a short break before we discuss the middle order. So I've gone Sky at number 3. You've put him at number 4. Why have you gone for Rahul Tripathi at number 3?
I'm a big fan of Rahul Tripathi, and I just hope that he's given a run in for India. He's in his 30s. I think he's 30. He'll be 33 by the 2024 World Cup. But age really, we've seen with Surya Kumar Yadav, it's not really a barrier. So with Rahul Tripathi, it's that his strike rate. He has a strike rate of 162 against Pacers in this IPL, had a strike rate of 151 against spin, which, if someone like a Kohli at the other end, if he's there, he struggles against spin. So if you have someone like a Rahul Tripathi there, he can go after the bowling and he can attack the spinners also, especially Pacers also. In the middle overs, he had a strike rate of 158, which, that's been India's issue of late, just upping the tempo in the middle overs. And he is a kind of bowler very similar to Sky, can go after ball one. So I just think it adds firepower to the batting lineup. And he plays big knocks. It's not that, he scores 30, 40s and then gets out. Once he's set, he ensures that, it's a big knock, match-winning knock. So I've been really impressed with Rahul Tripathi recently. Vijay Hazare, he's scored 3 consecutive hundreds also. So he's in the ODI squad for New Zealand, and I just hope that, he's given a longer run.
Yep, certainly, one that has been knocking on the door for a little bit of time to get his international call-up and get a run in the side. The reason that I've gone for Sky is nothing against Tripathi, and, if Sky doesn't bat at 3, then that is another good option, as you've just argued. But the reason I'd go with Sky at 3 is where he prefers to bat in this format of the game, and he's the best player in the world at the moment. So you've got the best player in the world, just bat him in the position that he wants to bat in, because, nobody else trumps him when it comes to that. So he bats there for the Mumbai Indians. He's had all that success. And sometimes having him at 4, what happens if your openers, as you want them to, do get off to a good start? It's just less deliveries for Sky to play. And he can be a finisher. We've seen that. He can bat through the middle overs. He can bat anywhere, but just give him as many deliveries as possible to face, right? And having him at number 3, which he's done on so many occasions in the IPL, and where he is cemented for the Mumbai Indians. Remember, they retained him above Ishan Kishan. I know they bought Kishan back for stupid money, but they retained him, even at his age, and before he had all this international form behind him. they retained him. That's how big a player he is. They released some big names, the Mumbai Indians, ahead of that mega auction last time, but they retained him, and he is locked in that number 3 spot. So I think that's where he should be batting for India. I mean, come on, we want to see Sky as much as possible, right?
Yeah, definitely. Sky at 3 again. Not the worst pick. I think I'm starting to like your 11 more. This is not fair. We should take a break.
All right, let's take a break and then we'll discuss the middle order.
You're listening to Cricket's Conversation on 99.94. Whatever your team, we have the show for you on podcast, YouTube, or on the 99.94 app. We have India, England, South Africa, West Indies, and now Sri Lanka covered. If you want to find us, the best way is to follow us on social media at 9994DM by downloading the 9994 app or Google 99.94 on podcast. We speak cricket.
So middle order then. I went for Sky at 3. You've gone for Sky at 4. I've gone Samson at 4. You've got him a bit lower down. I mean, we've discussed Sky. Discuss why you've got Samson lower down. And I'll tell you why I've got him at 4.
Just because I think that Hardik Pandya is at 4, 5.
You've got him at 5. We both got him at 5.
Yeah, so just because Hardik Pandya is, if I push Samson up the order, that will mean Pandya at 6, and I don't really think that that's the best spot for Pandya. He needs time to get in. We've discussed almost like a Dhoni-esque kind of a player, takes the game deep, so not the kind of player who, he is a finisher but doesn't, needs 20 balls, at least 15-20 balls to get his eye in. So not the kind of player who can be the finisher in my team. So that's the only reason why I have Samson at number 6, because 6, he can be a designated finisher. Why not? There's so much of competition that top order. If you have to play him, I don't see a place for him up the order. Like in my 11, if Tripathi is there and Surya Kumar is there, and India will need designated finishers like they had Dinesh Karthik in this T20 World Cup. So why not have him there? And he has done pretty well in the death overs also. So, and he is the kind of player who can tee off from ball 1, unlike Hardik Pandya. So that's the only reason why I will have Samson as my designated finisher going forward, and Hardik Pandya is 5. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, obviously I've not picked Rahul Tripathi, so I haven't got that same problem, which is why I've gone with Samson at 4 and Sky at 3. And the reason I've got him at 4, I'd have him keeping. I assume you'd have Rishabh Pant keeping in your side, because he's not a good fielder.
Fielder, yeah.
Yeah. So you'd have to have him behind the stumps in your side. So I've only gone with one potential keeper in my 11. So Samson keeps and bats at 4. A bit more responsibility batting up the order and keeping, but he's done that so well for the Rajasthan Royals, I feel. And I think at the top of the order, I mean, ideally, you could argue that, look, if Kohli decided to step down from this format, then in my 11, I might have been tempted to push Samson to open and then have somebody else coming in that middle order as well. Maybe a Deepak Hooda at 4 or something like that. Or maybe 3, depending on whether you swapped him with Sky. It obviously depends on form, but we're talking about ifs and buts. So I've got him at 4 anyway. I think he likes that extra responsibility, and I think, again, I feel the top of the order is better. He's not a natural finisher. Could be groomed into one, but if we're talking about the here and now, I don't think he's the finished article as a finisher. So Hardik at 5, we've both agreed on, and captain. Or is he your captain? You didn't say.
Definitely. He is my captain.
Okay.
There's no other captaincy option
Bumrah?
in the...
But he doesn't play half the time, so you can't. You can't do that. Jadeja. After all his success at CSK, no. Okay, yeah. So Hardik
There's
5
no
and
Dhoni
captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, no Dhoni to sort of hold his hand and take over midway through a World Cup. And look, this is where I've gone rogue. So you've got Samson at 6. obviously you've got Sky, Hardik, and then Samson at 6. I've gone Rahul Tewatia only because I love the guy. He's just his aura. He's just one of those fun guys who, you could become a cult hero. Already has, really, in the IPL and with Rajasthan, what he did there, and now with the Gujarat Titans winning matches at the end. He's a finisher. He's been finishing in the IPL. He's there. He's the finished artist. He's ready. And if we're picking a team now, if there was a World Cup happening next month, you could argue that he's there. He's done it. That is the role that he does all the time. And get this, my 5, 6, and 7. So we've both gone Jadeja at 7, right?
Yep.
Your 5 and 7 bowl. My 5, 6, and 7 bowl. So there you go.
Plus,
we talk about
is a left-hander.
Sorry?
Tewati is a left-hander, so
he's a left-hander as well.
Yeah.
And he bowls. I mean, there's all these these options which we thought we didn't have in the World Cup, and people were saying, "Oh, we don't have these kind of players." Well, there's one. He's an IPL winner. He's won matches for his franchise time and time again, even his previous franchise. He could come in at 6 or he could come in at 7, and you could swap him and Jadeja around depending on the situation, couldn't you? Because Jadeja, again, likes to take his time, and if you lose a lot of early wickets, you could send him up the... I think there's a lot of flexibility in that lineup, and you could keep the Watia back until the end, and until number 7 perhaps, and go for it that way. And how many times have we spoken about we don't have any batters who can bowl? Well, there's 3. There's 3 in this lineup, so we do, don't we? And that gives you so many options, gives you 7 bowling options.
Yeah, the only issue with Tewatia that I have is possibly his fitness. Like, if you're picking a team now for 2024, which seems absurd, but yeah, whatever. Tewatia's fitness could be an issue. He's not really passed the yo-yo test, and with India's, fielding already being so bad in the T20 World Cup, you would want someone, who at least not up there, but at least close enough to be fielding, and with Shaw also there in the team, not the safest fielder. So I think that is something that could work against him. Just one more interesting thing I was just reading about. I just came across this tweet before this podcast where New Zealand A and India A, there was some match a few years ago, and Surya Kumar Yadav was actually the 5th bowler for India, and I didn't even know that he bowled. So yeah, why aren't the batters bowling? That's the question.
Has he bowled for the Mumbai Indians? I wonder. He may well have done.
I don't really remember. Yep.
Maybe an over or something at some point. They should have used him last season, shouldn't they? Nothing else was working for them. It was mainly their batting which let them down, to be fair. But
yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, look, obviously he's bowling at international level, so he must have had some sort of ability and something to groom. We're not saying he's going to be a frontline bowler, but even in ODIs, he's part of the ODI setup now. So sometimes you need that person just to come in.
2014.
2014, okay.
Obviously,
we know. Yeah, but we know Kohli bowls, or did.
Yeah.
Kohli's the last player to take a wicket for India in a T20 World Cup knockout game, isn't he? In 2016 in the semi-final. So I don't know why they don't bowl. I don't know. Because in back in the days, you'd see Tendulkar, I think, could have been one of the best spin bowlers that India ever produced. But he was so good. He was arguably the best batter of all time. So just didn't want to either get injured or, didn't have the time to put into his bowling because he was concentrating on his batting. But when he got it right, he was brilliant. But he used to spend time in the net still, bowling to all the batters and stuff. And when they were practicing against, Shane Warne or Murali or whatever, he'd come in and bowl leggies or offies. He could bowl seam up. He could swing the ball. He was just so talented. You had him, you had Ganguly. I've even seen Rahul Dravid bowl at international level, but he wasn't that good. But, Rohit Sharma used to bowl. There's been quite a few over the years that have turned their arm over and had a bit of success as well. Suresh Raina was a very decent off-spinner. Yuvraj Singh turned himself into a proper all-rounder. They had so many options, and that's why I've kind of gone with this Dawatia pick as well. He's a natural finisher. That's what he does. And he bowls as well if you need that option. He's your 7th option, but he's there. If everyone else is getting smashed, just bring him in. He might have the golden arm and get you that wicket when you need it. So we've gone for Dawatia. Well, I've gone for Dawatia. We've both gone for Jadeja at 7. Don't think there's any argument over that. Best fielder in the world. Loads of options. Left-hander. Can spin it if the conditions suit. If not, he just keeps it tight, wicket to wicket, right? Are we agreed?
And this is one issue, that's one issue which India struggled with, finding a proper number 7. There was Akshar Patel batting there. So before the tournament, we actually, we were discussing Jadeja in the team, not really the most feared batters, but then we realized how much India will miss him, if he's not there just for the whole balance. So he's just there for possibly the balance, you can say.
Excellent. Right, so that's the middle orders then. We've not agreed on a couple of positions, but we're kind of mostly there. So right, the bowlers then, the 4 bowlers, we'll discuss them after this short break.
If you love the language of cricket and want more, then head over to the 99.94 app and you can hear all of our podcasts and cricket commentary. We're adding new shows all the time and covering cricket series from all over the world. Be the first to hear all of our announcements by following us on social media at 9994DM. Welcome to Cricket's Conversation.
So, Zara, in my team, I've got 7 potential bowlers, but the 4 specialists that I've gone with are Bumrah, of course, no argument there if he's fit, Chahal, Umran Malik, and Arshdeep Singh. You've gone with Bishnoi,
Yep.
And then you've gone with the 3 quicks, the same as me, Malik, Bumrah, and Arshdeep. So why have you gone with Bishnoi as of now? We're talking now, right? We're not talking 2 years. Based on what we know now, why would you go Bishnoi over Chahal?
Bishnoi, just because he can bat a little bit, not the best batter in the team, obviously, but he can bat a bit, so that just adds a little bit of strength to the batting department. Plus, he's just so talented. He's an excellent fielder. He has the googlies, and even under pressure, he's done so well. And he did well against Pakistan in the Asia Cup, where most economical bowler, and then he was dropped. Right after that, he was a standby, but he's not been picked in the New Zealand T20i series. And just feel that with Chahal, sometimes he can be too expensive on his day. And when he's expensive, when he's going for runs, there's almost he can't return from there. His second spell won't be economical almost. It's like once he starts off expensively, he will concede 40-45 runs in his spell. So that's one risk with Chahal in the team. And Bishnoi, just because he's young and he has all the skills. Even Ian Bishop has been so impressed with him, his googlies. And I just I would prefer him over Chahal just because of that. Chahal can prove to be very expensive on his day. Yeah.
No, good point. Absolutely good point. I suppose if I was picking Chahal, there is that option then. If he's expensive, often a couple of overs, you could just say that's it for today and put on somebody like a Jadeja and bowl him for 4. There's a few more options. But you're right, Bishnoi is a really exciting cricketer. We were both raving about him. We felt he should have been given his opportunity and given that run into the side, even in the World Cup as well. The only reason why I've slightly gone for Chahal is just the experience and the fact that he's a wicket taker. He can bowl the googly pretty much as well as Bishnoi, but it's Bishnoi's stock delivery, and that's the only thing that concerns me about Bishnoi is his leg spinner doesn't really come out very often. He seems to have lost the ability to, or has he even ever had the ability to consistently bowl leg spinners. So if he just worked on that a little bit, then he'd be effective against both right hand and left hand, or on any kind of surface, given the dimensions of the ground and stuff like that. So that's the only thing that concerns me, is that he can become a bit predictable with just the googlies and the straight ones and the angle that he has coming into the right-handers, away from the left-handers. It's all quite the same. He needs to obviously work on varying his pace a bit more, but if he can get that leg spinner going, then I'd agree with you. I'd agree with you that he's the one for the future. Chahal's in his 30s, never quite sort of established himself as a world-class leg spinner over a period of time. He has been world-class for periods and done really well. Over a period of time at international level, he hasn't. And Bishnoi has that potential, so I'll maybe give you that one on the basis that he gets some coaching and just works on his leggy a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, Umrah and Malik, both of us have picked Malik. I mean, there's no argument over Arshdeep and Bumrah, right? We've not gone Bhuvi. We've discussed that before. He's getting on a bit. Seems to have lost that little bit of zip, especially in his second spell always. I mean, he tends to do well if the ball's moving early on, but comes back for a second spell and can be quite expensive. Doesn't really work at the death either. How excited are you about Umrah and Malik?
My excitement, I'm always so excited before series, and then when he doesn't play, it just dips, against New Zealand. I was like, wow, Umran Malik, and he didn't even play. So keeping my emotions under check. But yeah, he has to be there, like someone who can bowl 95 miles per hour consistently. He just has to be there. You just try him out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least give him a, rope of 10, 15 matches. And we've discussed before that sometimes the Indian team doesn't do well because they lack these X factors, or they don't take a bold step. And he could just be that X factor, who wins a game or two. And you never know. People might get... you never know what in West Indies conditions, how effective he could be. And India have never had someone like him before. That's more exciting, and that's also what makes it so frustrating that you're not giving him a chance to be a first of so many. So that's the frustrating part.
And he would have been, I think, obviously lack of experience going into the World Cup, but that's because he wasn't given that run of games, playing consistently and given that rope, like you say. But he would have been so useful in Australian conditions in particular. I mean, we saw what the Pakistanis did, we saw what Norkia did, saw what Mark Wood did. It's that extra pace. And if you can get your length right, you don't need to bowl short in Australia. You can bowl length deliveries or just short of a length, and they're going to climb up. And if you're bowling at that pace, like we saw with these guys, you're going to cause batters a lot of trouble. And I think they missed a massive trick there. They'll probably bring him in for the ODI World Cup in 23 on Indian pitches, which will be quite flat, and he won't do well. And then it's so frustrating. They don't use the right players in the right conditions at times. So anyway, we both agreed on Umran Malik.
Yeah, Arshdeep actually made his debut after Umran Malik. I think it was in the England series. So, if Arshdeep had that run, so there was no reason to say that Umran is inexperienced, and that's why we didn't take him. Because it was just about, deciding, okay, these are our bowlers, and Umran just wasn't in the plans. So, yeah, frustrating.
Yeah, but we hope that changes with the new regime, new selectors, new captain, hopefully, in this format. Just quickly, by the way, our previous episode, we talked about selectors and selection committees, and I gave the comparison with England, who have now appointed a national selector, and that is Luke Wright. And it's funny, isn't it? Because India's advert, or the BCCI's advert for these roles, you've got to be retired for 5 years, you've got to have done this, that, whatever. Luke Wright retired to become a selector. Up until yesterday, he was a Sussex player still. And I got love for Luke Wright. I went to school with him. We played on the same team together. We played in the county age groups together. Lovely guy, brilliant role model, brilliant T20 cricketer, actually, in his time. Unlucky, right, I think, not to get an IPL contract when he was at his peak, because he was top scorer in the Big Bash, top scorer in the T20 Blast a couple of times as well. Just a really brilliant cricketer, World Cup winner with England. And they've got this guy who was contracted to Surrey up until yesterday. He's young, he's a current player, or he was, and they've made him the national selector because he knows T20 cricket, and he'll be involved with the Test selection as well, but working in conjunction with the captain and the coach of each of those teams. And that's another thing as well. England got different coaches, haven't they, for Tests and for white ball cricket as well. Matthew Mott's the white ball coach, Brendan McCullum's the Test coach. So, you might talk about bringing Luke Wright in. He hasn't played Test cricket. 4-day cricket wasn't really what he, made his bread and butter doing through most of his career. But he's got Brendan McCullum there as another selector, so to speak, and Ben Stokes, the captain, will have an input. There'll be the three of them. And then in the ODI and the T20s, it's a different system. So England have acted quick. They've made this decision. There's no stipulation that you have to be retired for this many years, that many years, all that. I mean, what's to say Luke Wright won't pick his mates in the team? Well, you've got to have have trust in someone's integrity to know that they won't do that. I mean, are all these former cricketers in India so untrustworthy, or current cricketers who are coming to the end of their careers, like a DK, for example? I'm just giving an example of somebody who's, played international cricket just weeks ago and, could potentially be offered this job as a selector, as a head selector, whatever. I know they're going to have a committee, aren't they, as well, which is another issue. But why couldn't you have somebody like a DK there? Did you not trust him to not pick his friends? It's just stupid.
Yeah. I think in India, the system, till you have an old man, as you said, old middle-age group around sitting, discussing over chai and, just politics and all. I don't think anything in India works before that, before all that happens. So there's lunch, there's dinner, and then the team is announced. So many times it's like the team will be announced at 11:30 at night after dinner. So that's they are assembling not to pick a team, but to have, an adda over chai and dinner and lunch. So yeah,
I think they just have they have a full couple of meals, all catered for by the BCCI, paid for. And I think there's probably a free bar as well, because all these old men like their whiskies and stuff, don't they? So whiskies, cigars and all that. They have a good, make a day of it, I suppose, and then select a team. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But anyway, that it is frustrating that they're going to go with this panel again, but we'll see what happens. Those are our 11s then. Let us know yours. Get in touch with us on social media, whether it be on the YouTube comments or just leave a comment via your podcast provider. Rate us on there as well. Please give us 5 stars if you think we're worth it. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube, and we'll be back next time. Thanks.